Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Ivy here, wishing you all an amazing and healthy new year. As requested by some of the folks who saw my OPR videos, I'll be showcasing my gears as well as some of the perks that I believe that are good for the current meta. I've been playing as a Bruiser main since beta, and it's by far my favorite class to play. In the clump fight, it's got more mobility than a heavy Bruiser and more survivability than a light Bruiser. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. Today's video will be focusing strictly on the medium bruiser setup. The ideal equip load that you want to have as a medium bruiser is to have 2 heavy pieces, 2 mediums, and 1 light. Preferably heavy helm and chest, medium gloves and boots, and light pants in order to maximize your armor rating, both physical and elemental. So um, starting off with the heavy headpiece that I got, I actually got this in an M10 Laz run. So this is a Resil Shirk Fort Freedom piece. Um, so I know that a lot of people don't like running dungeons because it's really repetitive. But I personally like to run dungeons. If you can find a really good group, I host most of my runs. I pub most of my runs actually, but I do, you know, I have met a few friends along the way, um, who are also very PvE focused. And once in a while when we get together or when we hit each other up for runs, it's always gonna be a good. Um, so I definitely encourage people to do the M10s. Once you get really good at it, and I'll have a separate guide on running M10s as well. But once you get really good at it, then it's gonna be a smooth sail. Won't take you that much time as people think. You know, Sometimes you get a bis piece like this. So for the heavy helm, I run Resil, Shirk Fort, and Freedom. For my heavy chest, I also run Resil, Shirk Fort. I believe that you can find one of these pieces quite cheap now on the market. The heavy chest is actually the most expensive Resil Shirk Fort piece on the market right now. You can find your medium gloves and medium boots for even cheaper than the heavy chest. And the heavy chest currently on my server, I'm on Yggdrasil right now. It's going for between 10 to 15k. But you might even be able to get something that is cheaper than that depending on what server you're on. Going next is my medium gloves. So for my medium gloves, I'm sure some of you have already seen my Bisgamba video. I did roll this piece myself. And then right after it was like around the same time, like between um rolling. I forgot if it was the boots first or these or my gloves first, but right after I rolled this, I kind of like show the company that I just hit Abyss piece, and then right afterwards I also roll my medium boots, which also has Resil, Sharkboard, and Freedom on it. For my pants, I have Resil, Insatiable Graphwell, and Shirking Fortification. So with this setup, I'm actually running 5 Resil, 5 Shirking Fort, and 3 Freedom. I did try in the beginning, going from 0 freedom to having 2 freedom pieces. Back then I didn't have this helm yet. But I had 2 freedom here, which to me was what I really wanted because, in a war, I noticed that I was just literally getting CC locked down until I'm dead in the. So I personally wanted a freedom piece. I know, or I wanted 3 freedom pieces, and just that week I hit all 3. Got really lucky. Um, but I have had so many fail gamba rolls. So if you're into rolling gears, definitely continue to do so and don't give up. You might or might not hit, but if you don't try, you never know, right? So once I hit 2, I did try it out in an OPR, and I felt like, oh, this is great, I can work with this. But once I hit the 3 freedom and I tried it on, and then I try to go back to having 2 freedom pieces, I find myself unable to, like, I couldn't go back to having 2 freedom. I just, love getting out of those CC lockdowns so much. Um, you know, uh, between having 2 freedom versus 3 freedom is actually a really nice change. But I'll let you guys test that out yourself. I'm not gonna go too into details of how many seconds it is for you to be released from the CC lockdown. Um, but no, ideally, I do suggest for people to have 3 freedom pieces, and then for the other 2 pieces, definitely have that Graphwell perk. I think the Graphwell perk is quite important in a war. And then for my heavy chest, I'm hoping I actually just roll um 2000 Asmos the other day and I didn't hit anything. It was like pretty much all salvage. But I'm hoping that I can hit Brazil, Shirkford, and Maelstrom piece. Um, but if you do find another piece, let's say Rizil, Shirkford, and Leeching Path of Destiny, then definitely slap that on because that heal will come into play a lot of the times. Um, but yeah, so this is pretty much your armor setup. A lot of people would ask like, hey, where's your shockwave setup? Where's your shockwave perk? You want your shockwave perk to be on your warhammer because the 14% ren is gonna be huge in a war. I'm trying out this keenly jagged perk with my on my hammer with my sundering shockwave, but I'm not sure. This is a 7-second cooldown, and I don't normally crit a lot. I noticed that you don't crit as often nowadays. So without any like keen awareness or crit chance perks. So I'm not too sure about this keenly jagged perk yet. But if you do want to just you know run a cheap hammer, there's also a name drop. Is this one Terra Crash, which also have the Sundering Shockwave on it. Plus you get refreshing ward onto your gear as well. So even though I'm a freedom believer, a lot of people run Resil, Shirk Fort, and refreshing. They run like a full refreshing setup to get their skills back as soon as possible, so then they can dish out more graph wells, more damage, you know, making their stats look really well. Um, but I think if you were to be in a clump fight and you want to have a little bit more survivability, freedom is definitely the way to go. Um, I think there are some people who actually run refreshing evasion as well. It just really depends on what type of play style you're into or you're comfortable with. Um, but for refreshing ward, I definitely wouldn't overdo it as a medium bruiser because you're you're not really a heavy bruiser, and when you get into clumps, you don't want to get hit that much. Like you want to use your dodges like, at the right time. Um, so I think refreshing ward is not really um highly prioritized in a medium bruiser. But definitely 5 Resil, 5 Shirking Fort. Even if you just go into the market and get some of these cheap gears, you survive like pretty well. You won't be able to get out of CC as often, but if you dodge at the right time, if you just use your abilities at the right time, then you can survive pretty well in clump. It's gonna be pretty hard to kill you if you run 5 Resil, 5 Shirking Fort. Um, those are like the must to have for your armor. Um, Moving on to Amulet. I'm currently running a health slash protection and divine amulet. I know that there is a name drop out there. I forgot what the name drop name is, but you can look it up in New World database. Is also health divine slash protection with con, except it's got a slash protection gem locked into it, which is fine. Let's see. Uh yeah, so you get slash. See, I run one slash gem or slash damage absorption gem onto my armor as well. So just it's just good to have at least one of these gems in your armor set, because you'll be fighting in clumps a lot. So I'm getting 23% slash damage resistance right now, due to having slash protection as well as a slash gem. setup. Um, and then for the for the amulet, more of the amulet, some people like to run stand recovery. Um, I haven't gotten myself a piece of with health slash protection and stam recovery amulet. If you want to go to the cheap route, you don't have that much gold, you're kind of starting things out. Definitely do your PvP tracks. So on the PvP track, you'll get this champion's amulet. Um, and with a little bit of umbral shards, even if it's purple, you can definitely turn this into a 600 legendary piece, and you'll get the health and stam recovery perk on this amulet, and then the shirking and power is also quite nice. Um, but for me, I will, especially in OPR, I live off of sacreds a lot, so health slash protection and divine definitely comes into play. If you look back onto the OPR video that I had with Ragnar throwing sacreds on me, I think the divine perk definitely played a major role there of you know how I was able to survive getting hit by a whole bunch of people. Um, so the amulet is gonna be quite cheap. There's a name drop for it, so definitely go hunt that down. Um, for the ring, I am currently running hardy slash damage and leeching. Um, in the beginning, I my heart was set on hardy and leeching because I started off with smoothbone ring. Hardy and leeching has been a huge part of my playstyle, especially hardy. But I feel like nowadays, hardy is not as important. I've tested it a few times. I feel like without hardy, I was able to still get my dodges in. I was still able to survive. So I'm looking to replace um hardy with Indian power, so I get more crit chance. Because I also also notice that the crit chance rate kind of dropped a little bit if you don't run anything that gives you some crit percentages, um or crit chance percentages. As for leeching, I actually forces perk when I roll this ring. um I need leeching, so a lot of people don't believe in leeching. They just believe in slash damage and invigorated punishment, or um immortal mortal in power, but just to get more damage in, which is fine. That's it. That's their play style, right? Gonna be dishing out so much damage, and that's great. But for me, I noticed that when I jump into clumps, sometimes there could be like two groups of bruisers hitting me, and when I jump in it, sometimes I don't have enough time to throw all my skills out, and I just get popped. So even with this kind of gear, sometimes I'll just get popped. So what I like to do is to have leeching, so then when I'm throwing down my combos, and I'm at the part where I'm maelstroming that group, I actually get like a lot of HP back, even though they're all hitting me at the same time. And so that gives me like a split, one more second of survivability, which in a war, a lot can happen in 1 second. That could be like life or death there. So I do run leeching, um, but definitely gonna replace the hardy with excuse me, um, in the awareness, which goes to the next topic of getting this ring. So there is a name drop out there, Legate's ring or Legate's ring. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but this is like the ring that I want, right? If I was to switch out hardy to keen awareness. um so I'm gonna be running this going forward, um just to get these perks that I want. um Again, this is just for my playstyle. I'm not saying that invigorated punishment is not the way to go. Definitely do what you want. Eventually I want to have one of all these rings, just to test them all out. Maybe there will be different times for different uses, right? So I'm definitely gonna be rolling a few rings as well. Going on to my earrings. So right now the earring that I'm running is just very basic. It's a named item as well. It's the teardrop earring. Refreshing toes is a must on this earring because you want your potion. You'll be popping potion like non-stop in a war, so you want to have that potion available, to refresh, or the potion cooldown to refresh as fast as you can. For regenerating, I don't know how much this plays into you know how much this affect me in war, but it's just good to know that my HP is going up even though there's no sacred below my feet and there's one healing me. It's just good to have a little bit of HP regen. Um, maybe on a sacred, uh, it might boost it. I don't know. I haven't really into all the um numberings and tested regenerating out that in depth, but I'm running regen now, and I just threw a refreshing ward in there because I am getting hit a lot in wars, so um maybe that will help with my cooldowns a little bit. Um, but if you're starting out, right, and you don't have a lot of these gears, right, and you're not in brimstone stands yet, farming, um, which you probably should, right? Um, but you can always like go with the smooth bone ring. This has been abyss ring since pretty much like New World first came out, right? This has been around. This is what everyone's thought after until Brimstone Sands came out, then the other rings you can go for. You can also go for a Champion's Ring if you don't like the slash damage perk. It's got Hardy, Keen Awareness, and Invigorated Punishment. You can test out that Invigorated Punishment and see how that works for you. Um, but yeah, these are the some of the rings that you know I'll definitely go look for that are name drops that are pretty much free. So these are the guaranteed perks from. And then for the earrings, I like to run healthy toast sometimes, which is why you see this, the mana pots in my one of my slots. In OPRs, it's very good to have an extra, you know, healing, quote unquote, healing pot slot. It doesn't heal as much as the regular health pots, but um, it's something, right? So I will definitely run this in OPR. But for war, no, because you don't want mana pots and you kind of out of slots in war. So you have health pots, you have regen pots. By the way, I'm running common regen pots because OPR, but normally you want to run infused. You want to maximize, everything that you can. And then in war, you also want to run oak flesh bomb or the gemstone. I just have common ones. Well, no OPRs, dungeons as well, but yeah, you want to run these, and then for um the last slot, you want to run the cleansing pots. So um it's just different setup in war versus in OPR, but in OPR, I run all these things, run healthy toast, because you don't always get a pocket healer, right? It's great if you go in as a pre-mate, but if you're just soloing OPRs, you might not get those heals. So whatever helps you survive is what you probably want to go for. And then another thing that I also run is for OPR, is duplicating toes. So if you want to save some money, duplicating toes is actually huge. Like people like don't sleep on duplicating toes, especially in OPR. Yes, you'll be losing like one perk, right? But this is actually saving you a lot of money because sometimes like you could be like spamming potions and you're actually saving a lot more than you realize. Like test it out, try to run an OPR with duplicating toes and one without, and then you'll notice. So if you put a full stack in your slot, however many you come up with, just then subtract by however many you come up with or without duplicating toes, you will be able to tell the difference. So definitely give that a try. Duplicating toast doesn't only work on potions, even though it says that when you drink a potion, there's a chance you don't consume it. It doesn't only work on potions. It actually work on all consumables. So I've popped a honing stone before in OPR, and it didn't go through because of my duplicating toast. Um, I popped like Desert Sunrise before. Um, these are just tier 2 Desert Sunrise. And then it didn't go through. I popped the food. I like to pop these like winter event Ignox just to get myself into 300 200. And it didn't go through. So there was one OPR where I literally popped all these things, and I basically got a free buff because none of them got consumed, and it was like back to back. I just popped them right after one after the other. I noticed that, hey, like the number didn't. So, duplicating toes for OPR, huge money save. I definitely would recommend that. Try to get yourself a ring where it's got healthy toes, refreshing toes, and duplicating toes on it. If you want to run a lot of OPR. For my great axe, currently I have Thorning Strike, Refreshing Move, and Chain Fire. Anything. So the two perks that you want to focus on is Thwarting Strike and Refreshing Move. So these has been around for like the longest time. I think the old biz is like Thwarting Strike, Refreshing Move, and Keen. Those used to go for a lot, but now it's like selling for like 50k. I see one for like 40k on the market, and yeah, um, Keen is not really like that. What that people don't really care about having that on the Great Axe anymore. Because there's thwarting strikes. Um, so and there's like attunement perks, and chain perks. So they just want to dish out more damage. Refreshing move is a must. I've tested it out many times with other great axes. I had well, I don't have those great axes with me, but I've tested out like Kimi Jagged. I've tested out with like poison. I tested out a lot of different perks on great axes, and none of them um really does much in a war, or in an OPR environment, in a PvP environment. But thwarting strikes and refreshing move is the two must-haves on your great axe. If you can cop a purple one, that's great. You're at a really good start already. But if you get a 3 perker like a chain fire is probably the worst one out of all of them. I rolled a chain void on my Bisgamba video, but I decided to sell that because I don't think that will like be that much of a difference if I slap that on. So I rather take the gold and roll more great axes. But essentially your goal is not to have the chain perk, is to have an attunement perk. I've heard many great things about having the thwarting strike, refreshing move, and attunement perk. I heard that the damage the damage difference is just like so huge, versus like using chain. This is more of like a quote unquote patter axe, but the Tumen one is actually a patter axe too, right? Because you jump more damage, but yeah, this will do. If you don't have the Maelstrom perk and you actually find yourself a great axe with thwarting strikes, refreshing move, and Maelstrom on it, definitely run that, right? But if once you get your chain element on there or your attunements on there, definitely swap out the Maelstrom. Uh, Eventually, you want your Maelstrom perk to be on your armor. So for my hammer, I'm running Sundering Shockwave. Uh, I'm testing out Keenly Jagged at the moment because I heard that it helps you get your ultimate back, your Heartstone back, cooldowns back faster. But I noticed that without Keen on the hammer, you're really not critting that much. And even if you are, you're getting a 7-second cooldown. So I'm not too sure about this Keenly Jagged Sundering Shockwave hammer at the moment, but I'm still doing a few testing. It is important to have the Sundering Shockwave and War though, because of the 14% Ren that you get. And I think that just helps with like clearing clumps like well. In an OPR without a healer, I like to run leeching path and keen on it, and well, I just threw fishes on it. Sometimes I do get a kill from my leeching path. It's kind of great because like it goes so far, and you basically just catching that guy who's about to get away, um, and would not expect that leeching path to kill him. Plus this perk gives you a lot of healing as well. So if you don't have a pocket healer and you know do your leeching path into a clump, you pretty much get all your health back. Versus if you don't have this. Um, but definitely run the shockwave when you're in war. Um, if you don't have a hammer and you want a free hammer as well, this is another name drop, Terror Crash. So this has Sundering Shockwave as well, and it's got Refreshing Ward on it. Um, and then you get some health back when you kill something. And not a bad hammer for for free. But because I'm not a heavy bruiser and I don't run Refreshing Ward that much, I don't run this hammer. Um, just this or this until I get a better Sundering Shockwave hammer. Or Heartrune. So there are different types of builds in the OPR video that I um put out or uploaded. Um, I was using the Cunning Hearthstone of Stone's form, which gives me a lot of fortification. So that's why every time I popped it, literally like nobody could kill me. It takes a lot to kill me. That just um, and then I used to run Vine as well. So I also chose the Cunning, uh, Grasping Vines because it weakens the people around me and it locks them down. Some people like to run the other one where it, you know, um, inflicts Ren onto the people around you. But I feel like there's so many heart runes and cleansing pots now. So even if you throw your heart runes out, if they just like cleanse themselves and get out of your maelstrom, let's say, then or dodge out of your maelstrom, then you're pretty much like not doing much, with the Ren. And on top of that, um, I believe that it slows your stand recovery by 50%. So that's actually huge for a medium bruiser. Like you always want to have stam to dodge. Like in a lot of my videos, you see me like constantly dodging. Um, Dodging as a medium bruiser is not only for getting away from situations. It's not only for iframing abilities. It's also for repositioning yourself into um, securing your kills. So it's not only used for defensive purposes. It could also be as a attacking, um, you know, sh- on the offense side. So definitely try not to have anything that would reduce your stand recovery. But now I'm actually practicing detonate. I am actually starting to fall in love with this detonate perk. With this gear, I'm actually able to survive quite well clumps. So with detonate, whenever someone sees something shiny running, rolling into the clump, a lot of them would get really defensive, and they would like either run away, or if they CC, there's a chance that they're gonna am out and get blown up. But you know, detonate is something that you can iframe. So if someone is coming in and you just know the timing of the detonate, there's no control of when they can pop it, right? So if you just time it right, you can actually dodge people. But yeah, other than that, I think this is pretty much my build. Um, for attributes, you want 300 strength, 170 con because I do pop those eggnogs for the extra 30, for OPRs and dungeons and whatnot, just to get myself to 300, 200. But in a war, you definitely want to pop those rabbit food, so it would be 300, 210. Um, and then, just a quick overview of the gear. You definitely want to prioritize having 5 Resil, 5 Shirking for it. If you need to drop one or the other just for, another perk, that's fine. Just have like, 4 of each maybe and see how that feels first. Um, you feel free to run Resil, Shirking Fort, and Refreshing as well. A lot of people have been running that. I personally like the Freedom perk, but feel free to do whatever you feel is right for your playstyle. Because this is really just my opinion on uh, what I want in my Bruiser gear. There's lots of different builds, lots of different meta. People make different things work. So there's no like okay, like these are the must-have perks, right? But this is what I would suggest have if you want to be a pretty beefy medium. So, 5 Resil, 5 Shirk Fort, 3 Freedom, and 2 weapon perks. The weapon perks should probably one of them should most definitely be your Graphwell perk because there are just so many things good about Graphwell. Um, on the tree, you know, with your Graphwell, get burst damage. Not only that, but you also gain fortification when you're standing on your craft wall. So you definitely want craft wall as one of. I like to have charge because I like to get out of situations. But there are people who just run reap or whirlwind. I don't really see a lot of whirlwind nowadays. But you know they're just different builds that probably explore. Um, And then for the last perk I want is going to be Maelstrom because I have Shockwave on my hammer already. So Maelstrom is the next perk that would definitely help with weakening the clumps. Um, but if not, if I get somehow get Leeching Path of Destiny on there as well, that'll be great. But if not, I'll be fine without it because you'll have a healer. Other than that, I think I pretty much covered everything. For the earrings, I still don't really know exactly what I want, but refreshing toast is 100% a must since the very beginning of time. The other 2 perks you can kind of play around and see how it fits your playstyle. But for OPR purposes, I would definitely invest in one of these earrings. Like if you're not gonna roll one, you'll be able to find one in dungeons. Um, as you can see, this is something that I found in dungeons. It's an old earring, so definitely keep an eye out for those. Uh, yeah, I think all the gear that I got for the medium bruiser build. If you have any suggestions on perks that I should try, builds that I should try, definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll be more to check it out. I like to explore different builds and as a medium bruiser, see what's good for my playstyle. So thank you again for tuning in. Happy New Year's again to you and your family. Stay happy, stay healthy. See you guys later. Take care.